Alright, so I have dogs, diamonds, my whole
Hey guys. Ooh, that's like a real. What's up?
Hey.
How are you, Bridget?
Good, how are you?
Good. Getting back into the school swing of things.
I'm trying. My computer is acting slow, so I have my husband's laptop over here looking up for tomorrow while I'm on team call. So we'll see what happens.
My computer's being super slow too, and the Wi-Fi here has been horrible, so I hope that this works okay.
Is it just you and Jay, or who else is there?
Just me and Jay. A bunch of people couldn't come last minute. Brittany had to study. Keely got called into work. Kelsey couldn't come. Someone else. Courtney got off work really late, so it went from like 5 or 6 to just me and Jay.
It was looking like a good time.
I know. Me and Jay will have a good time.
That's right.
She has our new sweatshirt on.
Let me see it. Ooh!
Mine hasn't come in yet.
They're so comfortable.
I love them.
I love it. I cannot wait. Mine is like stuck in Dallas, but I'm guessing it's in Colorado now. I hope, but I'll go
hopefully
get it when I get back.
Yeah. I was listening to Tulin's message earlier before the call. Her little thank you or whatever. That was pretty cool.
Oh, I didn't listen to it yet. What was it?
She was just saying thank you for everybody's support when they showed the video. I guess that she didn't know that was all going to be shown.
Oh.
But that we can use it to benefit us in any way we need to.
Awesome. No, it was a good, did you see the video they shared of her for Shift Shop?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really good.
That was intense. What, Sarah? Oh, my children are going to bed now.
I like to say hi to them.
They all come in right, because they just can't tell me right before I get on the phone.
That's okay.
I come visit. So.
Which Samantha is on? Samantha B or Samantha M?
I don't know.
Let's see, Sarah. I want to get started though. It is like 6 past 9.
Love you. Okay.
All right, guys. Samantha B. There you are. All right, guys. We will get started. If you guys can. Oh, hey, there you are. And the
My dog is attacking me. That's why I didn't have that.
Oh, so cute. Samantha, if you can turn your video on, I love to see your faces, but if you can't, that's okay. I'm gonna mute and then we'll get started. So tonight's call, hopefully for you guys to catch the recording, is on being intentional. Courtney and I were talking, I hung out with Courtney yesterday and we were talking a lot about this and intentionality, and I was like, is that even a word? So we like Googled it and looked it up. But her and I were talking about it, and I think it's a really important topic. And then that ties right in with time management. So we're just going to talk about being intentional. I don't think this call will be super long tonight. So then you can be intentional and go do a half-hour power hour after, whatever you still need to get done for today. And I'll kind of leave that time for you guys at the end. But yeah, so, and I hope Courtney can jump on. I just messaged her because she had a really good point to share too, but if not, I'll share it for her. But yeah, so we're gonna talk about that a little, and then I'm gonna have Jay share a little bit about being intentional in a different way with time management and go from there. So the whole reason I wanted to talk about intentionality, am I saying that right? Intentionality. Perfect. Is because it's so important in our business. And you can kind of say intentionality and time management go hand in hand, and they're kind of like the same thing, but really being intentional with your time. So hopefully Courtney doesn't mind, but I'm going to use her as an example since we just talked about it yesterday. But she was saying for a little bit there, she got a little bit overwhelmed and like backed off a little. And first of all, I want to commend her, because when she did, she reached out to me. It took her a couple days, but she reached out to me and was like, here's how I'm feeling. Like, can you help me? Here's what, like, let's come up with a game plan, versus running away and backing out and then being scared to reach out or something. So if you're ever feeling anything, have a question, need help, whatever, please reach out. Like, that is what I'm here for. That's what the team is here for. Like, nothing, I don't mean like a negative, obviously, like complaining type of way, but Courtney was like, here's what happens. Here's how I feel. How can I overcome that feeling type of thing? And it was super good. And we talked about it. So first of all, commend you, Courtney, on that, because I think a lot of times we can just get this overwhelmed feeling. And I've been in a funk. Like, I can get in a funk too. And we have a tendency, instead of leaning in, to pull out and isolate and to just not do the work, when really we should lean in to the business, because it brings us so much joy and happiness in all areas. Like, when you're disciplined in life, you know, discipline is a good thing. But Courtney's example, so we were talking yesterday and she's like, yeah, when I was having that little period of like overwhelm of like, I'm in over my head, I can't do this, just like a lot of self-doubt, to be honest, and we all have that. At first she was like, I was just using the excuse that I'm too busy. Like, I'm a nurse, I work weird hours, like I'm too busy. And then she's like, and then I came home and got to this realization after like a couple days of just watching TV or relaxing or whatever, that she was like, I actually have a lot of time. Like, when you really sit down and think about it, versus when she was just laying around watching TV, or she was feeling guilty then that she wasn't doing other things, which I'll talk about. She's like, I can either get a really productive hour in, or I can just lay here and feel guilty for not doing it, which is what I meant to talk about in the next thing. But she was basically like, you know what, I don't have, and everyone's definition of busy is different. Busy looks different for everyone. And I always say, I hate the word busy anymore, because busy is like a badge of honor that people wear that really isn't a badge of honor. Like, who wants to be like crazy busy all the time, even though I know we all are. But busy for some people, Courtney was like, you know what, all I really have, even though I work crazy hours and I'm a nurse and all this stuff, all I really have is my job and my husband. Like, we don't have a bunch of kids. We don't have a million other things going on in life. Like, I'm not that busy. I just have to look at it and see it that way. And that's just one example. But like, I know Bridget works full time and you have 4 kids, right? 4. So Bridget's definition of, yes, Bridget says, I woke up on Sunday and I said enough. But Bridget's definition of busy is going to look different from Courtney's, but we all still have, I still don't have a voice, but we all still have our different definition, but we have blocks of time where you guys have always heard, if you want to, like the priority quote, what is that, like, say it's not a priority and then see how that feels type of thing.
Instead of saying I don't have time, say it's not a priority.
Yes, thank you, Jay. But anyways, Courtney kind of just was talking through this with me and was like, I do have time and I want to do this and it makes me happy. So I just needed she's like, I just needed to throw that excuse out the window and do my craft. So that was just like an example. But then we talked about being intentional that we have. So there's a difference, and I'll just use the example we talked about yesterday again. I was like, say you come home from work and you have 3 or 4 hours together with your husband, and this can be anyone, even if it's 2 hours, whatever. Let's just use the example of 3 hours at night. So say someone comes home from a long day of work, they eat, exercise, whatever, and they have 3 hours until they're going to go to bed. A lot of people use that time at night, and I can use myself as an example when I worked 50-hour weeks in corporate America before I was getting my MBA. But I would go to work, come home, get home around 7 from the gym, cook, eat, clean, whatever. So let's say 7:30-ish, I would sit on the couch to eat dinner. And then from like 7:30 to 10:30, really, I would be awake. And that was like mine and Tyler's time at night to hang out. And I was exhausted. Like when you don't do anything and you just sit on a couch, it's tiring. Like you get exhausted. But that was like our relaxed time. And we would sit there and we would watch America's Got Talent. We would watch Shark Tank, we would watch Family Feud, like really just sit there and watch TV. And I was like, say we took those 3 hours, and if I want to work my business, like, yes, family time is so uber super important. But if I really want to be intentional, I could work 1 hour of my business and say, guys, family, Tyler, I need this 1 hour. I'm going to work when I get home. But then we're going to have 2 hours of intentional time together, meaning we're not going to sit on the couch and watch Family Feud repeats for the 10 millionth time. We're going to go for a walk together, or we're going to cook dinner together, or we're going to walk the dog together, or we're going to play a board game, or we're going to actually hang out and talk to each other. So there's a difference between being intentional with your time and using that time to, maybe it's go get dinner with a friend that night or go on a coffee date, versus me going home and sitting for 3 hours and hanging out with my husband. I'm just making up examples because Tyler's not even my husband yet, but you guys know what I mean. So Courtney and I were talking like 3 hours of, we can either just sit there and hang out and say we're hanging out, but really we're just watching TV, which I still want to say is okay. Like, so I love to watch Grey's Anatomy, and sometimes that is my unplugged me time. Like for me, that's intentional. I want to watch an episode of Grey's Anatomy before bed because that's like my me time. So that's even different. But when you're just sitting there and maybe you don't have that much time, like Megan, for example, Megan Geist, who works full-time, coaches, has a 6-figure coaching income, teaches volleyball. Like she's super intentional though with all those things, and then still plugs in time for her husband. So just like I wanted to first of all say all that of what being intentional is. So like For me right now, I'm being super intentional of I'm getting all my business activities that I need to get done. So new conversations, invites, follow-ups for my personal business in my first 2 to 3 hours of my day, and having the rest of my day for if I need to host a team call, if I need a one-on-one call with someone, if I want to make something new for the team, if I want to go on a coffee date, if I want to go to Orange Theory. Like, my intentional time looks way different now than it did when I was working 50 hours a week, intentional MBA work, coaching work, bed. But I just think it's so important to be intentional with your time, or you're gonna feel overwhelmed in some area of your life if you're not being intentional with it. And those will go into my time management tips. But I wanna also share, since I don't think Courtney can jump on, she texted me, well, not texted, but Instagram messaged me this today. She said, I listened to the 10 times rule on my way to work, and it talks about how it takes the same amount of energy to not do something as it does to just do it. Because you spend so much emotional energy thinking about it, making an excuse, following through with the lies you make in your head, etc. I'm going to think about that anytime I don't want to do a power hour when I actually have the time, because hello, in all caps, she put, it's so true. And I feel so guilty, so why put myself through that? And that is so true. And I've totally done that myself when I'm like, oh, I meant to send this one email today, but I didn't. And now I said I'll do it tomorrow, but I didn't. And then you feel guilty when really it could take me 2 minutes to just get on and send the email I wanted to send. Like, how much time do we waste feeling guilty, making excuses, saying we'll do it later versus just doing it now and getting it done with? And having that intentional time. So then I'm going to go into my time management tips. But first, I told Jason, she's here, I just want her to jump on and share, because she has a different perspective of me right now. She's full-time college student, part-time working, and just how she is planning and setting up her weeks intentionally to have intentional time for each thing without it overflowing into each other.
So I can agree with Courtney that I've been in a funk because
I think we've all been in a funk.
This past week, I knew I had emails to send because I had this person who really wanted to join, and she was in it for the business because we talked about, this is kind of off topic, but we talked about changing our bios and Instagram. I've had 3 people message me just because I changed my bio and they read that bio.
That's
and
awesome.
I was like, wow, like that actually works.
Because now you
because
have
I put about college students trying to get out of debt and stuff. So I was talking, I was talking to her about the whole coaching thing, kept putting it off, to a point I ignored her Instagram message, then we got to email, and then I kept putting off emailing her, and I was like, I don't know why, because I just sat and watched like 2 hours of Friends on Netflix instead of just I could even do that while I watched Friends. I was literally just sitting there scrolling through Instagram, not doing anything, watching Friends, just like moping around. But when I'm not in a funk like that, my classes this year are a lot different. There are 4 classes online, 2 on campus. So it's more of all time management on me. I don't have that one-on-one in-class time where I would get most of my work done like last year. So I make sure I set time for school first, because that has to come first. And I make sure, I have all my assignments written out, how long it should take me. And I usually give a little leeway just in case it takes me longer than expected. And so at the beginning of the week, I'll lay out my entire week school-wise. And then I will lay out any appointments, my class times, my work schedule, things that can't really be moved around like that. And then I will schedule in my workouts and I will schedule in my power hours. There are days where, like tomorrow, I don't have class and I don't have work. I'm going to get ahead in school and I'm going to do double of my power hour just because I have time, because I know on a day like yesterday, I had no time at all to do a power hour, which is fine because I usually only do them about 4 or 5 times a week just because my schedule is just so crazy. But tomorrow I'll just double up and make up for that time. And then sometimes on weekends, depending on what my work schedule is, I'll do a little extra just because I can. Or, if I do work, then I work. And then the next day, like it's just week by week, I do the same exact thing. Sunday nights, I meal plan and I plan out my week, and it's the same thing every time. even though literally my schedule could be different every day, every week.
And I think for someone, I think there's like two different scenarios, and Courtney and I have talked about this a lot too with her schedule, is like when I worked in corporate America, my schedule didn't change. I worked the same Monday through Friday, 7 to 5. So for me, I had the same power hour every day because that's how I could stay consistent the most, because there was no reason for me to be like, you should skip a day and double up on another day, because I had the same schedule every day. So that's what worked for me. But like for Courtney or Jalen, who have the varying schedules where one day may be super booked, I say, look at your week ahead of time, see what days you have those. And then it's more like a win the week type of thing where, okay, I want you to have a goal of 100 invites a week or whatever it may be, or 80 or whatever it is. Let's make sure you're getting those 80 in. So when you have a day like Jade tomorrow, maybe tomorrow she'll do 20 or 30 invites. So she's still hitting that weekly goal, but also planning that in advance. So when you sit down on a Sunday and plan your week, if you're in the varying schedule type of thing, be like, all right, Wednesday is my day of really a lot more coaching. So I'm doing 30 invites that day. I'm doing 10 invites Tuesday. I'm doing 10 invites Thursday, whatever it may be, to get you to that weekly goal. So you always have that number that you're aiming for, and you already know in your head, I need to do 30 on Wednesday or whatever it is, to get that win the week type of thing. But anyways, I wanted Jay to share that just because so you guys can see a different perspective. But with all that, to give you actual tangible tips on time management and being intentional, I have like 5 quick little tips that I want to give you. And some of them kind of go together. But number 1, so take notes if you can. Number 1 is no notifications on your phone. I did this when I first started coaching, and I don't regret it whatsoever. Like, you can see my phone right now. There's nothing. The only notifications that I get on here are text messages and phone calls. And you guys know I don't do business through text messaging. That's just my personal thing. I know some people do, but I want to have my work life and my personal life separate to an extent. I know we share a lot on social media, but for me, I can still control. I'm not getting random text messages when I'm sitting and eating dinner with Tyler, or when I'm home with my family or whatever. And then because I don't have where I do my business, Facebook Messenger, Instagram Messenger, I don't ever have those notifications popping up on my phone. So turn all notifications off. And because that goes right into one of my next tips, is having your business hours and not answering or doing other business unless you're in those business hours. Now, I know that may look different for everyone, because for someone that may be a solid 1 hour, I'm doing everything I need to do. Some that may be power pockets of 15 minutes here, 15 minutes there, but those should still be planned in your weekly Sunday planning session, or whatever day of the week you choose it to be. Those should still be planned if you're doing the 20-minute power pockets or 10-minute power pockets, not just random answering messages on the fly. And I really want to point that out, of not answering messages on the fly, because, and I don't do this at all, like I have my very solid work hours where I answer emails during this time, I answer messages during this time, not like specific 10 to 10:30. I don't go that plan, but I have like, okay, 9 to 12 is when I'm doing my business type of stuff. Because say someone answers you at like 9 o'clock at night, and that's not in your work hours. For some of you, that may be your work hours, but say for me, it's not, and I see their message and I answer right away. What's that going to show them? Like for them, that's going to seem like you're desperate because you're sitting at your phone answering them right away, trying to get them to sign up with you. Like you don't want to do that. It's going to show them that if they do this business with you and join your team, that they need to be on their phone all the time answering messages. And that's not the case. Like this goes back to being intentional, but I want you to be intentional with your time. And if you're at home having dinner with your family at 7 o'clock, you shouldn't be answering a message during that time, because then that's going to overflow into all the other areas of your life. Your husband's going to be like, hey, you're at the dinner table answering messages, and then he's not going to start to like the business because you're not being intentional with that time. Like if you say you're hanging out with someone, hang out with them, be present, don't be on your phone, have that time set aside, and then get shit done during that time. Like if you know you only have 1 hour, you're going to be so much more productive and actually getting stuff done when you can go through and answer all those. So notifications off. Don't answer messages on the fly, and make sure you get your income producing activities done first. IPAs, and I kind of want to make some sort of slogan with that for our team, because a lot of us love beer and I love IPAs, but it also stands for income producing activities. Those are your power hour activities, and more specifically, your new conversations, your invites, and your follow-up. Yes, workout, personal development, social media posts, all that goes in there, but your main income producing activities for your power hour are your new conversations, your invites, and your follow-ups, specifically your invites. So try putting those first, like eating that frog. Like when I sit down and do my power hour or my power pocket of time, I'm doing 10 invites right off the bat. Maybe that's what you need to do. Maybe I've had this conversation with a lot of people on one-on-one calls that I think is a good idea, is sometimes I do all my new conversations in the morning when I'm drinking my Energize and waiting for it to kick in for my workout. Maybe for you, it's doing invites right then, because that's the first thing you do in the morning and getting them over with. Or the example I gave too is doing your new conversations before your workout, and then your invites right after, when you have that like workout high and those endorphins and you're happy and you want to share this with other people, getting them done right away. So make sure you're doing those new income or those income producing activities first for you to get results for your business and for you to spend your time the most efficiently. And that goes back to the messaging again. So I save my answering all my messages for last. So I make sure I do my new conversations, my invites, my follow-ups, and get all those done, because they're the most important things, before I go through and clear my Facebook inbox and my Instagram inbox. And sometimes I'll finish my invites when I'm doing those, because that's where the conversation went. Or maybe sometimes those are just extra invites added on. But that goes back to, if you sit down and you have 20 minutes to answer messages, you're going to answer those messages as fast as you can, instead of randomly answering it in the grocery line or randomly answering it, I don't know where else. Like, I was going to say stoplight, but that would be horrible. Don't do that. But Holly made me laugh when she first started. She would be so excited. And I was the same way, like so excited when someone answered, and she would have her notifications on. She's like, I literally pulled over my car and like went in a parking lot to answer this person, and like, don't do that. Like,
I was at school just like hanging out with friends, and we were gonna go to the bar, and I'm on my phone answering people because I got so excited.
Yeah, and it is exciting at first, and it's okay to be excited, especially when you're first starting, but like, you don't want to make a habit of that. You are a business owner, you are a CEO, like, be professional. Like, your friends don't want you on your phone when you're about to go to a bar or like anywhere. So like, for just example, last night I was over at my friend Janelle's house seeing her baby. Like, I did not do a single thing on my phone besides post a picture of her baby because he's so cute. But like, there's no way I'm answering messages during that time. I'm not checking my emails. Like, that is for my business hours, whatever that is for you, whether it's a half hour here, a half hour there, have those put in your calendar. And then with that, when you are working, so now we're going into tip 4, when you are working in your business hours, in your pocket power hours, power pockets, that's the word I was looking for, no multitasking. So a really good example I heard was, say you're cleaning your house, say you have like a baby in your hand or something, or no kids or whatever, but say you're cleaning your house and you're like, oh, that stove needs cleaned. And you're like in the middle cleaning your stove, halfway done. And then you're like, oh, how did all those paper towels get all over the place? So you go pick them up. And in the middle of that, you're like, oh, the floor really needs vacuum. So you start vacuuming, but then you're like, oh, I can't vacuum because the shoes are all over the place. So you start putting the shoes away and keep going on and on and on. Oh, I'll clean the pantry and do all this and do all this. And say an hour goes by and you look around and nothing actually looks clean because you half-assed everything, because you never actually finished cleaning the stove, because you noticed something else and then you notice something else and half the carpet is vacuumed. I've totally done this stuff, and like cleaning is a really good example. But you look up and you're like, it doesn't even look cleaner because you never finished one thing. Do that with your business too. Don't multitask. Don't have a million, and I am guilty of this. Don't have a million tabs open. I'm guilty of, like, I try to play music and listen to something and do this, and it's like your brain can't handle all of that. So turn the distractions off. Like I still do like music sometimes, but turn the distractions off. Don't be answering your emails and see a Facebook notification pop up and see a Facebook message pop up and answer that real quick because you're on. Like, no, if you're answering emails, clear your inbox and answer your emails with no other tabs open. And then move on to, okay, I'm going to do all 20 of my new conversations or whatever it is. Unless Instagram blocks you, then do something for a minute. Okay, I'm going to do invites. We're not getting up. I'm going to send invites for 10 minutes and get 10 invites out. I was listening to another girl. She's like, I could literally do 100 invites in 30 minutes if I wanted to. She's like, I don't normally do that many, but I'll take 15 minutes to invite 20 people or 30 people or whatever. Like, once you get more efficient and practice and feel more confident, those things come more quickly as you do them consistently every day. But don't multitask. Get your invites done, move on. Get your new conversations done, move on. Get your follow-ups done, move on. And that can either be when you're working in a solid hour, or that's really good too for those of you who do work in power pockets. Say, okay, 20 minutes here, I'm doing all my invites. And then you cross that off your list. Like, how good does it feel to cross something off the list for today? Like, you guys know me, I like love my crossing things off my to-do list. And then during your day, you're constantly crossing those things off in your power pockets of time, or when you have your power hour. The last thing I have for time management, and this is a big one, you may not even think it is, but stop following other coaches for many more reasons than just time management. One is the comparison is the thief of joy. Like, I can't tell you guys how many times I've like started following a coach for inspiration, and then a month later I'm like comparing myself to them, and that's horrible, and that gets you in a funk. Like, don't do that, number one, for comparison. But number two, do you guys realize how much time we may waste in looking at other people's stories? Like, you should not be following someone unless they're your prospect or they're one of your coaches working on your team, and even don't spend a ton of time doing that. Support them, but you can't spend all your day in other people's Instagram stories. So if you're watching Amy Rada's Instagram story and you know all about her life, could you have got 10 invites in the amount of time you, like, Jalen, how much do you know about her life? And I'm guilty of
everything. I know everything about Ashley Smith's kids. So
yeah, stop. So the training that I listened to on this, I was like, wow, like, wake up call. So to follow 2 coaches, one of them being your upline because you joined them for a reason and it is good to stay in the loop and know what's going on. And the other one being like a success partner if you have one, or maybe you're really good friends with someone on the team. And then if you have time at the very end of your night and you're like, oh, I wonder what Jalen did today, like, because she's my friend, go look. But if you're going to compare yourself, then don't. Or like, okay, at the very end of your day, if you're like, I got everything done for my power hour, I had a great day, and you really want to go look at someone for inspiration, then go ahead. But she said in that training call, like, you shouldn't really even have time for that at the end of the day. If you really want to go scroll Instagram, then go scroll your prospects and like comment on their stuff. If you really have time at the end of the day, you want to be sitting on Instagram to do that, or you could be like intentional hanging out with someone else. But for real, stop following other coaches. Like, I want to see screenshots of your Instagram and not see any coaches in that top feed unless they're your upline or a success partner. Like, that is huge. And like, I'm all about us commenting on each other's stuff as a team for support. So that's one thing, but don't spend your time just like lost in their Instagram stories. And I'll admit, I love to see your girls' Instagram stories and just send you a little like heart or like a good job or whatever occasionally, but I'm not going to sit there and just get lost in your stories if they're like as long as mine. Like, mine can be long and that takes a long time to watch. So to repeat the time management tips real quick, no notifications. Do your income producing activities first, then your messages. Don't answer messages on the fly. Have your planned power hours or power pockets. Just make sure they're planned every day. no multitasking, and stop following other coaches, and be so intentional with your time. I can tell you guys from experience, there have been times in this business, like a year and a half ago, where I was not intentional with my time. I thought I was. I just wasn't, because I was like, quit my job. I was like, I have all day to build this business now. And like, that's awesome because I quit my job and I don't have kids. But when I say I have all day, it can take all day, and it doesn't need to. It can literally take 2 or 3 hours or an hour. Like Rachel Baldwin is a really good example. Don't go follow her, but she's a good example of, she was an elite coach making 6 figures while she was still full-time teaching. Like, that just goes to show, she's like, I built a 6-figure business in 1 to 3 hours a day consistently. And now that she works full-time, she tries to stick to that because she's like, I know I can do it. I did it before and I'm still doing it. Like, why work these crazy hours? So you're gonna have your range of coaches who do different things. There's some coaches who work crazy hours, but I personally got in this business to work less hours than I did in corporate America and have a more balanced life. So I've been super focused on doing that, on going and hanging out with my family and visiting my friends' babies and like all this stuff, to have that and being intentional with my business hours. So I hope that call helped, guys. Do you have any like aha moments, takeaways, any questions, anything you want to get on and share?
I do, Emily and Jay, and I'm just curious to see, like, off the top of your head, because I struggle in the invite department. I'm working on it and I'm getting better at it, but that's a struggle for me. So when you go to invite somebody, is it just a real quick blurb, or do you do like a longer? Because I know you guys answer lots of emails. I can tell you, I've probably only gotten to like the email stage with maybe 6 people because they want to just do it all through messaging.
And
so
that's
I'm
fine.
trying to figure out
your market likes, then stick to that. For me, and make sure you guys are using the keyboard shortcuts on your phone. So my invites are super quick. And I just had a mastermind with the 5 to 8 star diamonds in the West region this morning, and it was actually all on inviting and exactly this topic. And I want to say, first of all, is there's no right or wrong. Like, it was really cool to be on that mastermind call and hear half of us did it one way and half of them did it a different way. So you have to find what works for you. But I do have, Kate Morgan was like, you're running the same challenge group every month. It's never going to change. Our programs are like, BOD is the same. So you're going to invite basically the same way. Like, yes, you can make it personal a little bit if you want to add that touch, but you're basically going to invite in the same way. So why not have a shortcut to your invite? And I have like, I just type CG on my phone and my invite pops up and it says something like, it seems we have a lot in common. I run these online fitness and accountability groups where we work on personal development, goals, nutrition, fitness, and overall growth. We share a lot of those same values because this is someone who I've been talking to a little bit. Would you like to see more of what it entails? But I can do that so quickly because I have that just typed in, and then I may add a personal touch if I need it. Or it may be something faster. Like today, I went through my Instagram stories and saw who watched. I had a really long Instagram story on Sunday about coaching, like really long, like 10 stories long. Sometimes I do that on purpose because if I see, you can see who watches your stories. And if they watched until the end, they must have some sort of interest in what I do. Like if they're not, they're going to swipe off on like story 3. So today, my 15 invites went to everyone who watched to that end story. And I was like, hey, and I took a little longer to type this one out, but now I have it saved. I was just like, hey, I saw you watched my really long story on Sunday about coaching and how it's changed my life. 1, I just want to thank you for your support. And 2, since you watched till the end, do you have any interest in joining our team and learning what we do as coaches? Something like that. But I sent it super quickly. I think the big thing is you can't overthink it. Like, really just think of this. Emily Favre has a great video on the Champions page of how this is a gift. And if you think of this opportunity as the gift that it is, that has changed your life in some way, fitness, nutrition, financially, happiness, personal development, whatever it is, it has changed your life in some way, community, or you wouldn't be here right now. So think of it as the gift that it is, and you want to share that with everyone. Like, you seriously should just want to message anyone. So another example, just to give you, because this is all fresh on my mind from this morning, Kate Morgan sends 62 invites a day. She just goes down on a sheet of paper and fills it in until those lines are gone. And she's like, I run out of people. Like, I got everyone who watched my story and I got everyone who liked my post. So then I just go to my followers and I start to message them and say, hey, I see you're following me. Like, blah, I don't know exactly what she says, but something like, are you interested in learning more? They're following you for a reason. Like, they are in your business if they're following your business page. So don't be afraid to invite. She's like, I sent 62, maybe 6, 7 said they wanted more information, but seeds are then planted with everyone else. So I know this is a really long-winded answer, but about half of us out of like 40 or 50 of us were on that call this morning said we go more to like the straightforward and direct invite these days versus the like, what's your dog's name? But then some of the other people still liked to really build that relationship first and do more of the method like Meg did in the National Wake Up Call yesterday with like the PBA invite. So just know, sorry, that was so long of an answer. I was just like super passionate about it after the call this morning, that you just need to find what works for you. But I think, because I know you too, you just need to not overthink it and just do it. Like, you just have to get them done. And then the more you sit on it, like back to Courtney's thing, if you let it take you an hour to send 10 invites, that's not being intentional with your time. That's being afraid. It's like putting it off. And then you're spending too much time on something that should have taken you 10 minutes. And you're like, well, I spent too much time and then I need to go with my family and I ran past my business hours, and it just snowballs. Does that help?
Yes, that's actually what's been happening to me, is that I'm spending too much time and then I get distracted with, because I've been setting a timer for my business hours just so my kids know that it's a audio clue that they can hear it. I'll tell them, starting the timer, it's always after school, and then they listen for it before they can come in and talk to me.
I love that.
And I know that sounds rude, but at the same time,
but it's like your thing with them.
Yeah, and they know that unless it's an emergency, do not come in and talk to me.
Mm-hmm.
But I also have them watching a show because it's their downtime after school to kind of just decompress before homework time. So it's my time to do business stuff, their time to decompress. So it works a little bit. But I think I was overthinking the invites so much that I'm not getting them out.
Mm-hmm.
I just was trying to figure out how to get them out pretty quickly.
Yep. And if you don't get them out, then your business isn't going to grow. And then you get frustrated, and then it's a snowball effect. But I know we've talked about that with your kids before. And I love that you do that, because you sat down and told them, this is important to me. This is why, like, mom could someday earn us a cruise or like a trip or a beach trip that you guys go on. Like, here's why this is important, that I have this time. And as soon as that timer goes off, they know it's their time. And
right.
That's being intentional with your time and not dragging that work over to, well, we're doing homework, but mom's answering a message on her phone. Like, that wouldn't be fair to them. So I love that you have that like timer that they can hear even.
Well, and I have been on my phone a lot. So I think that's what I'm going to do, is as soon as that timer goes off, I'm not going to get back on, because I always feel like that desperation. If I don't answer them, then they're going to go find somebody else.
No. And I can tell you guys straight up, for the past 2 years, it takes me a good 24 hours to answer a message. And you guys know that when you message me. That's why I'm like, email me. And even then, I don't answer your email till the next day for the most part. Like, I clear my inbox in the morning, normally by noon. And if I get one after that, unless it's an emergency that I see on my computer because I don't see it on my phone, I'm not answering it until the next day. Like, we run a business. Imagine, so like a good example too is if I emailed a corporate company on a weekend, I don't expect an answer. Like, and I've honestly had people who wanted that from me, who got mad when I didn't answer 24/7 on my Instagram messages, and she ended up joining someone else. And I was like, you know what? If that's what she was going to expect from me, that's not the type of coach I am that is going to be there to answer 24/7. And that is not part of my values. Like,
Right.
You have to really think what your values as a person, as a mom, as a wife are. And it's not my even though I don't have kids yet, it's not in my personal values to be glued to my phone. That's not why I joined this business. So I don't want people on my team who expect me to answer 24/7. And then like that gets taught down. Like, you don't expect me to answer you right away. And you don't want that for your customers or coaches either.
Okay. All right. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Sarah, Samantha, anything?
I need to be more intentional with my time, and that's why I like Teams. I started using Teamsy. I started with the trial, and I liked that it was a good visual for me because it also like led me through the steps of like, okay, do your new conversations, do your invites, check in with a customer, check in with a coach, and then you can do your follow-ups, because I found that what was happening with me was that I was spending too much time on follow-ups and answering those emails and not actually getting like new conversations going. So Teamsy really helps me to just kind of shift which actions I took first. And it gave me a visual too of seeing, like, instead of me just like blasting out messages and not really knowing like how many I sent for the day, it's pretty quick. Like, I just use it right on my phone and I copy the message that I sent in Facebook and just like paste it and log it in Teamsy. So it's pretty quick. And then it tells me like, oh, I hit 10, or in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, I just like spent like 20 minutes. I must have done a lot. And then, so it shows like 6. So it just it really helped to give me a visual and to count for me. And even though I did sign up for, after the trial, I did sign up for it to continue, and it's $30 a month. But I thought, like, if it keeps me on track, and I also kind of told myself, like, okay, give it till the end of the year. And if you're finding like that's not working anymore, then, you know, I can try something else. But at least like, don't just like give it a month and be like, well, it's not working. Like,
yeah, it's like going to take that time to pay off. But if that keeps you consistent every day, then obviously your business is going to grow from that. And I love that you are using that, because it just goes to show, like, I hated Teamsy and I preach Streak, but like that just goes to show you need to find what works for you. So like the fact that you're loving Teamsy, maybe someone else on the team would love Teamsy. So it just goes to show that there's never a one way fits all and never a one way to do something. Like, you really need to find what works for you. So I love that. And another point that you reminded me of was where you're like, oh, I worked for 20 minutes and I thought I got a lot done, and it said 6. It kind of becomes like a game and a competition with yourself then. And I know you're probably competitive like I am. A lot of people on our team are probably like self-competitive. It's like, oh, yesterday I did 6 in 20 minutes. Like, let's see if I can do 10 today. Like, and it becomes this little game with yourself of like, I'm going to be more productive than I was. And like, let's see how efficient I can get and how fast I can get this done.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Perfect. And then I saw Samantha, sorry, my nose is so stuffy. So Samantha says, all your points at home, checking my notifications all day is a problem, and I do need to put my phone away when it's family time. I get on my phone during a movie and I get eyeballed. Yes. And I don't want that for you guys. Like, just think, if in my corporate job, I wasn't checking my my work emails when I got home. Like, that was my unplugged time. Like, I know there are people that do that a lot and like check work emails at home, but I'm like, no, like that is work-life balance. Like, this is the same thing, and you have to own your business and stop checking your, well, you might have to, I don't know because I know you work in like maybe you need to check your work emails at home, but if you don't have to, then stop, because I hated it. Because if I would see like a nasty email from my manager, which happened quite often because she was the worst person, then it ruined my whole night when I was like hanging out with Tyler and stuff. So like, okay, if you have to with police work, then that's one thing, but you don't have to in this business. And if you want to grow this business and then you don't have to check those emails, like set those boundaries with yourself and stick to them, because that goes back to the same thing of if you lie to yourself where you're like, I'm going to do my power hour and then you don't, you lie to yourself. Same thing if you break your boundaries and you work past, say, like for me, I've been cutting off work at 5. And if I keep breaking that boundary of, oh, well, I'll just do something till 6, then I'm lying to myself. And then I'm like, oh, I have till 6. Like, no, you need to set your boundaries and stick to them. All right, guys.
All right.
Good call. Thanks for being on, guys. I'll post the recording tomorrow. I hope this was helpful. Post any takeaways in the team page after this, just so other people get on and watch it, because they need to watch the replay. So if they see you guys posting your takeaways, then I feel like they'll get on and watch the replay tomorrow. But thank you for being on. I wanted to say too, let's really make the focus this month being intentional and seeing how intentional we can be with our time, and just having that of our team's focus this month is intentionality, and being intentional with your power hour, being intentional with your unplugged time, being intentional with everything that you do, because your life is going to be so much better when you're disciplined and have that intentional time for every aspect of your life, not just coaching. So that's all, guys. I'll talk to you later.
Bye, girls.
Bye.
Bye.